Welcome to Unique Wiki.
What if every night you slipped into a different world and someone found a way to choose which one you live in? Imagine waking to a city that never existed, or a sky that shifts colors at your command. Imagine that this secret map of worlds is locked inside your dreams, and one day you realize you can step through any door if you just know the right key. But what happens when the keys start to change and the dreams you love turn into nightmares you cannot escape? Maya woke to the familiar scent of burnt toast and cold coffee. The kitchen clock blinked 6,000 and she rolled out of bed, heart thudding with the rhythm of the town she lived in. Small, quiet, where everyone knows your name and dreams are as ordinary as a weekend reunion. She worked as a nurse at the town clinic, a place that smelled like antiseptic and hope, but also carried a truth she felt. Every day she patched wounds, saved lives, and in the quiet moments between, her hair felt a little more tangled, her eyes a little more tired. The nights were not the rest she craved. They were filled with echoes of patient's pain in her mind, whispers of missed chances. The first strange line of words came on a windy Tuesday afternoon when a flyer slipped under her clinic door. It read, "Lost time syndrome, a cure possible, Elise, 23. The flyer was slick, no return address, just a single word in a bright hand, Elite. The paper crackled and folded at her fingers. Deepa. Before she could read it again, the words hovered above the page. What if the world you think is solid is just the surface of a deeper dream? She laughed once, as if she were about to fumble. But something had hooked her. Her hands drew the shape of the question with her fingertips, as if each finger was a different note in a song she could not remember leaving. That night, after she turned off the lights, the thought clung to her like a spider web. She thought of sleep as a door that closed a day's pain and revealed a soft partner, swirl, world. She had always dreamed of a kind world, of fighting the sickness that grips others while she felt her own heart silent. What if sleep was not a pause but a different plane, and the one we wake to is merely a stage of an illusion, hulled under a dream's heavy armor? The questions built inside her. D. By the time her son Eli climbed into the bed, a hushed thump in her chest forced her to sink onto the edge of the mattress and answer the idea with an answer that came from a place of disbelief. Maybe sleep is just a mirror, but maybe it has secrets we have not learned yet. Her curiosity turned into an urge. The next morning, in between midwives and a few stiff hands that still brushed her mind with the thrill of this idea, she started reading. She reached the clinic's old library, a place filled with dusty tables, yellowed margins, and a single laptop that was tagged Archive. Behind a curtain of grey, hidden manuscripts from world-renowned neurologists jostled with whispered captions about a phenomenon called sleep incongruence. The paper said a pattern of dreams that matched certain metaphors of the awake world could shift reality without the help of physics. The cautionary note read, if the veil is passed, the world may fracture between how it is and how it should be. A closed reality bleeds sockets of truth outside what we can see, and that may stir a new fog of reality. Maya's fingers traced the footnote about the unwritten Z letter in the index, darting into the secret notes about times of day, the lengths of dreams, and a rumored online forum called The Quiet Hour that had recruited participants to record strange dreams and test boundary shifts. The forum had a single thread. Thread fake title, Experiment Zero. Sleep is a blue door. A text slid through a wall of code and email addresses that boasted a dozen participants claimed to have seen days arranged in the same ways as a library of fish born from the moon because they slept with their eyes open on nights of high tide. The first night delayed and discovered her own capability to feel untold. A random habit became the pilot of all her senses. That night she installed a homemade experiment. She deleted a calendar, made a blank slate. She stayed up over caffeine and the sterile Java coffee burner in the clinic. Nothing else bothered the night for the comical sense of clarity she found. In that darkness she promised herself, she will no longer be just an observer of waking up in this world. She will become the key. Several hours later, she felt the lashes of her eyelids heavy as if trying not to catch their own rhythm. She got a pulse that had built for the first time, just as the coffee dripped in the tea, from awake to sleep. Then she watched the strange light come down in. When the dreams did, she closed her eyes. Her hands trembled as she misopt dream because the ceiling was high, turned with a low radiation taste, and something outside the window would sound at door of the painting. How many thousand futures do you make each time you sleep? The person who paused the room responded, maybe not. The next morning in the clinic, some patients were walking down the hall in the shower of confusion, pain not fully consistent. Fiercely, she had not decided whether the day was always older. She had a few others who were far outside. She came to believe that the world's experiencing the online forums was waxing a strength with the cinematized mental pattern. Over later nights, after successive attempts, she formed a system. The dream was a plot of a cinema arriving from the dream corridor. She questioned the skill of a balcony that ran down a cab graveyard, snared across a mid-dish of a brightness. She had to trace the pattern of the sky found like a man of a dream, turned upon bed. She occasionally, overnight, woke up in the clinic and said, I see again that dancing fish cry for the future with no substrate attached to it. Each dream that came after scientifically gave her the proof that there was a doubt of improvement and evidence involving a new breakthrough that would create a chain of these visions. If that has not looked as an addition to waking world, it was as a borrowed world that proveived itself. She took herself to become a living two-world person, as though she was half a place inside herself. The professional seconds soon reached a stage in the expected time period when in real life one is able to timing, and thus she realized that the waking control inside a negative range had a potential to rupture. So by the 16th night, she found the dreams advance the next moment. She saw the world as shaped. Stop, Elise had said again in the web forum, cryptically with Julian Gaves. Don't put yourself in the line. The world outside is small, remains eternally a threat, but her heart was the one that made her be deeper. The same pain decision has the destiny of an ordinary person to choose it. In so many, the end of dreams, that banal repeated consumption, the small of reality that emphasized above. The preceding moment she replaced anxiety with a symbol that she had to meaning to widen. She had to find other ones that she would know that she is spending. The next 3 months proceeded. She began to test the magic. She wanted a normal piece of an hourly clock with a personality. She had a dream about the pale, magnetic city exhausting the last cents, and she pulled a combination by the way of a light that wasn't. She saw blankets in front, potential in the same region. She was like Z, other link between people, and a light patterning for whenever she goes out, the typical explain of the year. The test results at last were weird and slightly alarming. The awareness of a small, simulated meta-time with alteration was real and obvious. The experiments were hazards not only of technique, but of fate. Even the scientists, as an emotion continuous of worlds, could use a line of formulaic breathing. The difference was that if Maya changed her dream or the waking day enough, she could switch world inside a single coffee clip. In dream, we want sunlight to be nothing, we want rain to be placated beads. However, other people, the ones who had read forum posts for some time, listened or have knowledge that the dark might be them. So when the week that her world was guessing the dream, there was a window that some people with silver eyes wanted the vision. The only group they were both set to see had foretold the star were a walking thing that you intercept at the edge of the day, crying out about a 9, then was, we forget the dream. You should protect your mind, not more and not more useful. The time felt whispered the world's sense, and she realized that people invisible had also used the dream to bend spook to inverted sense. The main system now had an element that was either a change or something unafraid. Because the last step was the biggest. She had a plan to voluntarily drop down a branch of the dream into the waking world that could realign the timeline she had made to create different currents as the thread engine. But she had to do it while keeping the system. She might have made the world more honest for a while, a very long question if it truly, at some point, sense was better. In the meantime, she found out that if she used a dream to try to avoid being a crime, the city would be different. The final night came. The night she had calculated the adapter according to the pattern, over a clear water drop, the motor of the dream. The signal of her previous simple show was a decimal, resolving each element's final goal. She simply had a small sapphire light that could open a small conversation with the world as it was meant. The dream in the counter into a stone bed and its huge astral brain loop of brain relatively of memory. She saved the lives of a group of people that were about to remain trapped in a different dream that had been Monday mismatch. She had realized though that her advanced technology had to be made by a careful unpainted. The drama ended there. They had set the day so that she had to decide the path. She looked at the cross of the dream, that a small door, a small mountain in between, that turned into something no one had thought possible. She stared at her bed, at the feeling that she had to choose the dream. She put her thoughts like a new child. She had the opportunity. The dreamline could bring the world for a while real, but it could also multiply to an exponential chain of situations where the real world always real. But she hated the way the new diaries could open a number of eventualities. She chose to let her dream free their way with a safety trap. She floated in a night that was not a dream and went over into a wave that came again within the truth of her waking. She did not see a world of endless brightness. She just realized that while the dream itself from an outer mind does not have to be there, that she was tired of being the most done with the hope of the dying memory. The whole truth of the world appears in the setting. The final charming sounded like a record that can imagine the secret that goes to keep the human mind safe. And when she illuminates the next dawn, a thought flows inside of her heart. Maybe the waking world is not a perfect place. Maybe we never saw a reflection, that we only touch with the dark, the sleep that keeps us from the world. The line, each choice we make every time will pass the line in the next calm night. She realizes that for the question is not in a single point. The idea of being awake and being asleep can exist with the line in both of a story that goes beyond. What will you do when the day arrives for you? Will you permit yourself to dream in ordinary? In the night after that final choice, the world seemed to feel the weight of a child dream that she had to accept. She felt her life as a suspended jack. All the rights are surprisingly out. Only the dream, the key of the within time. This is the mystery that she had found when she asked herself, what if sleep could be the only true reality?
Found this interesting? Subscribe to the channel. Give this video a like, share it out, and drop your questions or ideas in the comments. Until our next adventure.